Hello everyone, welcome to another team news video from Fantasy Football Scout. I'm joined by the king of team news himself. It's Mr. Neale Rigg. Neale wants to leave very quickly because he's got about a million things to do this afternoon with the Friday deadline. So we're going to rattle these off, but it's not really a week to rattle things off because there's a hell of a lot of stuff happening, Neale.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, and I'm going to try and speak as quickly as I can without skipping over anything. And I'll save my waffles that I usually have in the intro and get right onto it. Yeah,
let's go right into it. So we're going to start. Just going to go through fixture by fixture and just assess all the kind of the key team news going forward. So the first game is tonight. It's Arsenal. What's happening with Arsenal and Villa?
Arsenal. I think there's only really Xhaka who's out. Arteta was a bit coy in the team news yesterday. He said that they had two or three who they would have to assess. One of them was Saka. He had a kick to the calf and was taken off at half-time on Monday. He has trained as of yesterday. And Arteta gave his press conference before training. And at that point, Saka hadn't been on the grass this week from Monday. But he had trained yesterday. So obviously we're not quite sure what that means for tonight. But yeah, I mean, Tuesday would have been a recovery session anyway at Arsenal. He probably only missed like 1 day of training with his teammates, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue. There is a possibility of changes, of course, because they were outplayed really by Palace, and then off the back of the Brighton game as well, they were second best. So possibly it might change things up by leaving maybe Pepe out, or if Saka's not quite fully fit, maybe Saka.
There's a very attacking lineup, wasn't it? He put out.
There was, yeah. That is a problem with that 4-3-3, and that playing Odegaard deeper alongside Partey. And that Partey's actually not that strong a defensive midfielder, really. He's not like an Ndidi. And I think he's better with someone like El Neni alongside him. Lokonga, I suppose the jury's still out on him a bit, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him change it around a little bit. Of course, Lacazette's banging on the door as well, so
Saka
were very
starting or
not? Saka, I've put in my team as a starting, yes, on the right, because I think he's better on the right. He doesn't seem to be as effective on the left. Pepe had a bit of a stinker, I think, from my view of the game on Monday. So I'm going with Saka in my lineup, but I'll keep an eye peeled. It's the evening kickoff, so you never know. Make it something just before the deadline tonight.
Yep. And how about Villa?
Villa, yeah, very good. Trezeguet's the only one out. They've got Bailey, Traore back from injury. Matty Cash is fine as well. He had a dead leg last week, but he's all right. So I think the only decision for Smith is over how much game time Bailey and Traore get. He says they've missed a lot of weeks of training lately, and they're lacking a bit of match sharpness. So he's going to assess them too before tonight's game.
Excellent. Moving over to Chelsea. I don't know if you've heard, Neale, but there's some rumours going around that Lukaku might be missing out tomorrow, which is a bit surprising, right?
Yeah, I've heard that too. Yeah, it's been a bit hush-hush. Yeah, he's out. He's definitely going to be out of this one, as is Werner. Tuchel not really helping us this afternoon. He says he doesn't want to speculate. He says there's no point in speculating. Why? That's half the fun. That's what we need really now if we're going to sell Lukaku. I think a lot of people already have. There's been wild guesses in the newspapers and beyond about 3 to 4 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, but all Tuchel's done this afternoon is ruled him out of this game and ruled him out of the Southampton Cup game in midweek, and then they're going to take it from there. It would be a heck of a turnaround if he did come back this quickly. We had a sort of similar thing last year, didn't we, with Abraham? I think remember that he had a twisted ankle and he came back relatively quickly. But we don't know. We haven't got an exact prognosis on Lukaku other than he's definitely out for game week 9. Same with Werner and same with Pulisic. Other than that, Tuchel didn't give us any more injury information. He did say something pertinent in midweek after the Malmo game when he says that Wednesday, Saturday lunchtime turnaround is like the quickest in sort of in football really, and that we will have opportunities to switch some positions around. So could be a round of Tuchel tinkering, I think, at Stamford Bridge tomorrow.
Reece James surely comes in.
Yeah, I'd be absolutely amazed if he does start. He's in the scout pick, so he's got to start now. So he's missed or been benched in the last 2. Came on, I think, both times. But you would think, home game like Norwich, you want to unleash an attack-minded, rested right back or right wing back down that left flank. And he'd be one of the most confident I am of starting that Chelsea defence. But we've been here many times before where we think we've got Tuchel's number, and he's produced a team sheet like he did last week when he had Sarr and Chalobah either side of Christensen.
Yeah. Care to have a guess on the other side? Alonso, Chilwell?
I've gone with Alonso. I think this is a lot closer. I think this is probably more 50-50. I think Chilwell's second half withdrawal helps him, obviously. It's just that if it wasn't for that comment that Tuchel said, and if it wasn't for the fact that it's Wednesday evening, Saturday lunchtime, I've edged with Alonso. But I think if you've got either of them, you just start them, and chances are neither of them comes off the bench based on what we've seen previously.
Yep.
And that's not the case with James, of course. But I've gone with Alonso. Obviously, I could be wrong.
Yep, 50-50. What about Norwich? Any major news from them?
Not really. Zimmerman's still out. He's going to be out for another 6 weeks from Monday because he's going to have surgery. Cantwell's not going to be considered because he's still short of match fitness. And Billy Gilmore's ineligible because he's a loanee from Chelsea.
Not starting anyway, so not a huge miss.
Yeah, true. For them.
Yeah. Palace Newcastle. What's happening with them? Zaha missed out at the Emirates on Monday. Back in the squad, I hear.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's. I think the flag's come off him now. He's trained this week and he's back in the squad. And I think that's it. I think that's Eze and Ferguson's the only absentees. Newcastle, I haven't actually seen yet. I've just seen Graham Jones's interviews just loaded on the Newcastle website. It's coming soon, so I haven't actually heard it yet. But I suspect it'll be a press conference dominated by job talk rather than injuries. I think the only absentees for Newcastle were Dummett, Dubravka, and Shelby's banned now. He got sent off last week, so he's in addition. But I haven't heard of any more injury concerns bar that.
He finally comes back and gets sent off straight away, Shelby. So,
yeah, you can.
Typical, right?
Every time you think he's turned a corner, he'll get sent off or something stupid.
Yep, absolutely right. So a team with lots of injuries now. Everton, Watford. I mean, we could be all night listing Everton's absences. What's the latest on Calvert-Lewin and Doucouré?
Well, Calvert-Lewin's not going to be back for a good while yet. I think 4 or 5 weeks was Benitez's best guess this afternoon, but that could be even longer than that. They have got Richarlison back, which is good. Match fitness still a bit of an issue, according to Benitez. Wasn't sure whether he was going to start or not. I think Mina's a fresh concern as well, or fresh absentee, I should say. He's definitely ruled out with the hamstring problem. Doucouré was added to that earlier this week. He's going to be out for a while.
Massive miss.
I think it'll be interesting to see how that affects Everton actually, because they haven't really got. He does a bit of everything really. He's sort of box to box. He's not just this holding midfielder now. We've got Ben Davies and Gbamin. Not Ben Davies, sorry, Tom Davies and Gbamin, who could come in, but neither of those are, with the greatest respect, or fit the lace Doucouré's boots on what we've seen so far at Everton. But yeah, it'll be. To be honest, Benitez has got a great track record of getting the best out of mediocre players, sort of in Newcastle. So I wouldn't put it past him to make a fantasy asset out of Tom Davies. Who knows?
Tom Davies, Ben Davies, whoever Davies plays, hopefully he can mould him into a Doucouré light. How about Watford? I mean, we had some interesting talk from Ranieri on Ismail Assar, right?
Yeah, we saw a bit of a surprise. Well, in a sense, it was a bit of a surprise last week. We do know that Ranieri likes a 4-4-2, so we thought Sarr could be up top, but maybe more as a strike duo with someone else. Last week he was up top by himself playing against Van Dijk and Matip, and obviously that's not his strength really. Sort of with the backs to him. He still got off 3 shots and hit the post, I think, didn't he? Or he had a shot tipped on the post anyway by Keller. But Ranieri's come out this week and said that Sarr's better on the right, which is probably what owners want to hear because he's much better there. What that means for this week's team selection, he did surprise us last week with his wing back setup with Danny Rose having an absolute stinker, and then that got changed at half time.
Surely he's not going to do that again. I mean, it's absolutely disaster, wasn't it?
It was an absolute horror show. Yeah, Rose stayed on for the entire game. Well, Messina was the fall guy at half time, so I don't know what he'll do this week. Injury wise, Josh King's back, but the other ones who were out are still out, and that's Etebo, Sierralta, and Cabaselli. Oh, Firmino has a fresh out as well with a hip knock.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, it's sole no one from that side, isn't it? It's
yeah,
pretty dire down in Watford. Right, we've got some breaking news on the next game: Leeds versus Wolves. You've had your detective hat on, and you've found some fresh injury concerns from the Wolves side, which could affect quite a lot of people. Yeah,
now this we got an update from a couple of local journalists. about Bolly being ruled out, and about Trincao, who's been back in training this week. He had COVID last week and missed out, but he's been back in training. Now, another reporter, Ben Ramsdale, had dropped in a line which sort of went under the radar, and I only discovered it by chance, really, which said that Bruno Lage has hinted that Jimenez would have to be assessed in terms of game time this weekend. He apparently hasn't trained this week, not with an injury. It's more with a view to resting him after his international exertions in recent weeks. And he was in training today, but I think they've just given him a bit of a breather, really, after what he's been through the last couple of weeks. Was on the bench last weekend, of course, as well. So yeah, they're gonna assess him tomorrow in the match against Leeds, on the way down to Leeds. So Ben said I wouldn't count on a start, or wouldn't stake everything on a start. So yeah, there's a bit of uncertainty there. He was on the bench last week. We thought for sure you'd be back in the running this week.
Not the week you want to hear that with all the other stuff.
It's a bit of a curious one. This, I mean, if this is all true, that he's had like time after international duty to recuperate, and he's going away with Mexico again in about
I know.
2 weeks time. So not great. If you've got him, then you might hold. But if you think they were bringing him in for as a Lukaku replacement, I think that's probably enough to put you off.
Yeah. What about Leeds then?
Leeds, not great. Rafinha's back at least. Bielsa said Rafinha's acclimatized to England. I don't know what that means, but I'm assuming he's fine. He's been in quarantine, but he's able to train and play. So I don't think there's any worries. Elan's still out. Bamford's still out. Kosh is still out as well. I think there might be another one who I'm forgetting about. Firpo, Junior Firpo as well. So they've got a heck of a lot of injury problems, particularly in defence. So yeah, the likes of sort of Shackleton could be starting again, and maybe Dallas back to left back as well, which is where we all fell in love with him as a fantasy asset last year.
Acclimatized, he loves his evolution and acclimatized, and all these quite dramatic terminology to describe his players, doesn't he?
I wonder how much of that's lost in translation. When it gets put through the interpreter, and I wonder how much
true.
of that is actually quite lost there. But yeah, he does like to make us think and get out our dictionaries.
Moving on to the game that probably no one cares about too much unless you've got Livramento. Sorry, Southampton and Burnley fans. Not a huge amount of talent for our FPL teams in this game. I guess the big question that people are asking about is the Southampton forward line. I mean, Broja came in, did well. You got Che Adams there. You got Adam Armstrong. What's your verdict on all that?
I mentioned this in my team news. He's so hard to. I mean, he's quite easy last season because I had so many injuries and it was quite easy to second guess the lineup. But I've mentioned that he's used 6 different players, for example, in the number 10 rules. Those sort of dual, slightly winger, attacking midfield hybrid roles. He's just changed his left back seemingly on a whim this season. So he's sort of. I mentioned he's sort of horses for courses. I think he thinks a lot about opposition weaknesses as much as his own side's strengths. So even though they won, this was their first win of the season, and even though they were impressive in victory, you wouldn't put it past Hasenhüttl to make another couple of changes again and change a winning team. I've gone with the same team as last week because I think that's what he can do. I looked at Hampshire Live's website and a lot of the local journalists, and I think they're in the same boat as me. He just assumed, why would he change a winning team? But there is absolutely no doubt that he could bring back someone in if he thinks they're better suited to a Burnley test than against Leeds. And they are 2 very different teams. So not a guarantee, not a given that Adam Armstrong misses out again. What I would say is that Brewer and Redmond did strike up a very good partnership up front. And Hasenhüttl did say that. He said that he grabbed his chances with both hands. So it doesn't look great for Adam Armstrong. Hasenhüttl did back him up subsequently and say, I'm absolutely convinced 100% about the player. He will score more goals. So it's very similar parallels to last season when Che Adams came in, was given, I think, 7 starts and then benched because he was struggling a bit for goals. So there might be a similar taking him out of the limelight. Normally
a bad sign when the manager talks up the player. From my experience.
You've got to defend someone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And how about Burnley?
Just on Southampton's injury news, by the way, it's just Adams who's back, and then I think Stevens is out, and Ward-Prowse is obviously still suspended as well. Burnley.
It's the last game of Ward-Prowse's ban, right?
It is, yeah, because it's the last league game. He has another one in the cup in midweek, and then he's back for game week 10. Burnley have also got a Stevens out as well. Dale Stevens, he's their only absentee. The other three who were flagged are all closer and in contention. Dice is going to assess them. They've got a 3-game week coming up as well with the EFL Cup. So that's Vidra, me, and Charlie Taylor. Dice had previously said he was confident about Vidra and Taylor being available for selection. Me, of course, has had COVID, but he's been back in training this week, and he hasn't been too badly affected. So they're yellow flagged, but Stevens is the only definite absentee.
Trying to resist jokes about me saying, "Oh, I hope you've recovered from COVID and all that." I'm gonna fight it and not do it.
Just skip over it.
Just skip over it. Yep. So a fairly easy one for you this time with Man City. Well, I'll save you the time. Clean bill of health from Pep Guardiola, apart from Torres, I understand.
Yep. That's it.
Yep. And how about with Brighton getting some players back now?
Yeah. Just Welbeck and Alzate, who are definitely out. Webster's got an outside chance, which makes me think he's not going to trouble the starting 11 just now. He's been out for a while, and it's just match fitness because he's over that hamstring problem. And the rest are fit. Put a few words on Lamptey from Potter, saying he was pleased with his contribution last week. Probably still a tall order to give him a start this weekend. I think he hasn't started in 10 months. So against Man City, it would be a bit of baptism of fire, but. He's obviously edging ever closer to a start, which puts the rotation risk over Veltman. And I guess indirectly, as we discussed last week, the likes of Duffy and Byrne long term. But I think we've established short and medium term. Duffy is playing so well that he's probably all right for now.
Yeah, I think we might see a bit of rotation between Webster and Byrne. I think Byrne did a good job in his last game. Webster is obviously preferred, but could be battle between those two. Honestly, I think Duffy's all right for a while. I'm not panicking about him. I was about 6 weeks ago, but I think he's just been so good with Dunk that they're not going to mess that up. Okay, moving over to Leicester Brentford. Any news from these camps?
Leicester, I haven't actually seen. Rogers was delivering his very late today, so I'm just going to load up BBC Leicester Sport because they have the quotes. Let's have a look.
Patson Daka 4 goals in Wednesday. Does he come in?
Yeah, well, I don't think he does. Rogers says Albrighton's going to be out for 2 or 3 weeks, and that's not going to affect anybody. Castagna and Perez should both be okay. And nothing on anybody else, so that's very quiet on the team news front. Yeah, Daka's kind of like the Vardy, really. He's the next Vardy. He's similar sort of games, I think, what I've seen. So I think it's possibly one or the other at the moment. So yeah, it seems harsh benching a 4-goal striker after his heroics, but I do think that's what's going to play out this weekend.
Kind of kills Iheanacho as an option as well, right? Because he's come to the side and done well, but I imagine he's going to share some game time with Daka.
Well, I think especially it's a game week 13 or something onwards, where there's 9 Premier League games in 35 days, so November, December. Then you're going to see a lot of rotation between them 3. Even Vardy's going to get a rest, I think, in those matches. So obviously something to worry about medium term.
Yep. And just one injury for Brentford. Otherwise, looking okay.
Yeah, one new injury, and that's Johan Wissa. It was kind of used as relief for the front two, or certainly for Mbewo, as a substitute. But he's going to be out for a few more weeks. They've still got Baptiste out. Janelle, I think Thomas Frank said last week that he thinks it's going to be 2 or 3 weeks. So he might miss out as well. And then they've got the longer term ones like Josh De Silva and Sorensen as well. Yep.
I don't even have a screen for Spurs West Ham because there's so little news that I've come across. Anything you can let us know? I mean, it was a completely full change Spurs side, wasn't it? Didn't even take any of the players that played at the weekend over to the Netherlands. So I'm expecting no major news from them.
That's exactly right. Yeah. The reason we haven't got much news from them is that because they were both in action last night. And often what happens in terms of press conference terms is that they just face the media after that game, and then some quotes are held back for embargo purposes. And that might come out tonight. It might come out Saturday, but it'll probably be after the deadline now. Tottenham, what we do know about Doherty and Sessegnon are both out. As you said there, they changed the entire starting 11, so shouldn't be anything fresh injury-wise. West Ham, obviously, we're still worrying about Koufal, who hasn't. We don't know what his injury latest is. Fredericks Noble came back last night. Alex Kral should miss out because he's had COVID. But Koufal has had this groin problem. It's troubled him since before the international break. Then he got ruled out of that. Didn't feature last weekend. And I don't think he was doing training earlier this week. So we're operating on the assumption that he's not going to be involved because he wasn't on the bench last night. So yeah, it could be Ben Johnson again playing at right back. But yeah, we might get an update saying the contrary after the deadline. Such is the problem with Friday night deadlines of FPL. You always run the risk of a 10:30 p.m. bombshell coming out.
Yep, but a nice rest for Antonio ahead of the derby.
Yes, yeah, I should mention that. Yeah, he's he wasn't involved. We think it was a rest. We assume it was a rest.
Oh God, don't say that.
Sinister about that. It's happened before. He hasn't been used in Europe, and he's absolutely fine. So in the absence of any further information, we just assume that he's going to play it.
Yep. And then finally, the big game of the weekend, it's United Liverpool. And Solskjaer has made you put your head in your hands, right, with his comments today, because you talk about vague.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I shouldn't be surprised now because he does it every week. Liverpool's an easy one. It's just Jones is back in contention and Thiago's out, along with Harvey Elliott. United is a bit more complex, so we knew that. We knew most of the injuries. Or the players affected or potentially affected by injury. So we knew Fred had a hamstring problem midweek. Martial had a knock that he made him miss out last weekend. Varane, we know, is out, and Bruno Fernandes is the new one. We saw this reported last night by the Sun. All that we're going off was that he was limping, and then Solskjaer has confirmed that today that he's a knock. All he would say was that he might be a doubt. It wasn't even that he was a doubt; that he might be a doubt. He went on to say, we might have everyone fit, we might have 2 or 3 out. So absolutely no help whatsoever. It's a Sunday game, so we won't get any, news from the Lowry Hotel about them staying over. So we are in the dark again. Given his past records, I would think is more likely that everyone's fit than 2 or 3 out, because he's done this before, where he said people are doubts, and then lo and behold, they've got off their deathbeds and then played on the following day. So my 3-year skepticism of his press conferences has told me to not believe him and that everyone's going to be fit. But one of these days he'll it's the crying wolf situation where he might actually be telling the truth.
Absolutely. His exact quote is, we have 2 or 3 with knocks, but I hope I can pick from a fit squad. Bruno might be a doubt, but he's doing everything he can to be fit. I can't say if Fred will be fit or not. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
I know.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, cheers. That's no help whatsoever.
What about just the final question then? Diogo Jota. Obviously, a lot of people still holding on to him. Confident of a start? I'm not.
No, I wouldn't be confident. It did kind of last month threw me a little bit because Firmino had started, I think, 36 big 6 matches in a row, and then Jota got the nod. I think that's maybe more because Firmino had been out with injury, and then Jota was at the time the sharper of the two and the more informed of the two. Now Firmino's off the back of a hat-trick, and whilst Jota was benched in midweek, it's a Tuesday a Sunday turnaround. That's a generous recovery time, and Klopp even said this afternoon that proximity to the Atletico game does not factor into his thinking whatsoever. There's no consideration. Fatigue's not a problem for Sunday because there is 4 full days of recovery in between. So any sort of inkling that a rest in midweek means a start of the weekend, which it might do for Chelsea assets, for example, because it's a much quicker turnaround, doesn't necessarily hold true for Liverpool. I think it's just a case of, I think it'll be whoever gets the nod alongside Henderson and Fabinho. I think that's probably the only spot up for grabs at Liverpool, because the back four will probably be, who we've seen a lot of this season. And then I'll put money, if I had to gamble, I'd put money on Firmino being alongside Salah and Mane.
Yep, I think I agree. So keep your eye on the Fantasy Scout site for Neale's predicted lineups. I'd be looking forward to those as well. I'm glad you said Reece James will be in the side. You sound quite confident about that, so I'm happy.
Yeah.
Just to mention as well, there's a free trial on Fantasy Scout at the moment for 7 days. So if you're looking for some stats and some information and some brilliant articles from Neale and Tom, our editors, then make sure you head over to that and give that a go. Also, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a like, give us a subscribe on the YouTube channel. There you go, Neale. We've smashed through this in 25 minutes. We said we were going to...
Great stuff.
We'll do it quickly.
It's quick for us.
Yeah, and I'll let you go and because you've got a busy afternoon before the deadline.
I have. What's left of it? Yeah, 3 hours for the deadline.
So thanks everyone for joining
See
us,
you soon.
and we'll be back next week.